we went to my first scout camp. And what our ward did was go up to Yellowstone, and that was in June, and I had just barely turned 12, so I was the youngest scout in the troop. So we get into camp, and back then bears were all over the place. I mean, when you drive into Yellowstone on the roads, I mean, the bears would be alongside of the road all over. I mean, you couldn't go very far, and they would come up to the cars. They would lean on your car, literally. I mean,
Trying to get stuff. Huh?
yeah, whatever, because they were getting fed and whatever. I mean, they were just all over the place.
That's crazy.
So in this campsite, we get there, and lo and behold, there are bears in the campsite. Well, we got some pretty rowdy guys, and so they literally chased a bear up a tree. Yeah, in our campsite. And the tree was kind of like this. I mean, it scampered up, and then decided it had gone about as high as it wanted to, turned around, roared at everybody, which meant scouts were going in 360 directions as the bear decided to come down. Okay.
Oh,
yeah. This is where we even set up the tents.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. One day, you know, because we had to go to the store to resupply, I went with the scoutmaster and several others to get groceries and so on. Came back, and all of the guys were in a big circle, and they were throwing things and couldn't figure out what was going on. And so lo and behold, as we got closer, you know, got up to where they were, they had encircled a bear, and they were throwing apples and oranges, you know, peelings and things like that, and it was just turning around. And of course, the scoutmaster would just went nuts, because all it had to do was charge, and you weren't going to get out of the way fast enough, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, that's the kind of dumb things we were doing. At night, we would have campfires, and we had one guy in particular who told the scariest campfire stories. You know, in fact, all the leaders would orchestrate this thing. He would, you know, be telling this intense story, and all the scouts we would sit on logs like
around
this.
the fire.
Yeah, around the fire, and he'd be on one side of the fire, we'd be on the other like this, okay? And then he'd get to the right moment, and all of a sudden all the leaders would go, you know, we'd just jump, you know. I mean, they just had it really worked, okay? Yeah, that kind of thing. Well, one night we were at a campfire, and we were listening to campfire stories and so on. All of a sudden, our scoutmaster got up and grabbed a big log like this and started hollering and yelling, and we all turned and, you know, past this. And on the very last row of these, you know, because it was kind of like an amphitheater with, you know, with wood seats, you know, cut row, you know, seats. Logs cut in half, and then we were sitting on it, was a bear. And it was a big brown bear, and it was sitting on the log bench by itself, just like I'm sitting, but it was about, you know, sitting, it was probably 8 feet tall, you know, that thing. And it was like a scout decided to join the, you know, the campfire, but it was about 2 rows behind the last row of Boy Scouts, you know. And it had just come up, wandered up, sat down, you know, on its hind, you know, and was there, I don't know for how long, until the scoutmaster noticed it. And of course it, you know, just freaked out all the adults, a few boys also, because it was just right behind them, you know. But it was just minding its own business, listening to whatever, I guess. And so we, you know, chased it off.
All in one trip?
This was all during that entire 1 week.
That's a lot of bears to see in one trip.
Oh, well, back then you couldn't hardly go anywhere without bears. Bears were, I mean, it was incredible how many bears we saw.